Our first website was ugly. We didn't have funnels. We didn't have a whole lot of people. I DM'd people to get them to come to my events directly. I got told no a lot. I got rejected a lot, but none of that defined me. So I can get rejected and be totally fine and still be 100% confident. So I like pushing my clients to think through, okay, the pretty wins are cool. We need a website, but what we need more is sales.
You're tuned in to the Event Gems podcast, the podcast where coaches, consultants, and speakers learn how to produce transformational and profitable events. I'm your host, Natasha Wright, Chief Experience Curator at the Diamond Butterfly. Join me and other industry experts as we teach you how to maximize the power of your next brand building event. Time to drop those gems. Let's fly. Hey Trailblazers, welcome to another episode of Event Gems. Today I am super excited to introduce you to Ashley Nicole Kirkwood. She is a prolific speaker. Ashley is an international speaker, best-selling author, and award-winning lawyer. She believes that you could use the currency of confidence to create a custom-designed life for you. In fact, that's the title of her signature talk performed at colleges and corporations nationwide. She has helped doctors, lawyers, entrepreneurs, consultants, therapists, DEI experts, and many other experts package and position their expertise to land large corporate and collegiate contracts using her P.A.I.D methodology. She left her $300,000 corporate associate attorney salary to start her own speaking business and law firm, and quickly learned it's easier to build a business fueled by large clients who consistently work with you. Through her book, podcast, and Facebook group, all of which are called Speak Your Way to Cash, Ashley has been recognized as a thought leader by media outlets galore, including Forbes, Crain's, Chicago Business, Black Enterprise, NBC, and so much more. So without further ado, let's welcome Ashley to the Event Gems podcast. Hey, Ashley.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for being here. So before we get started, Ashley, we're going to play a quick game of Insights Gem, which essentially is just some quick questions we're going to ask just to get an insight into who you are and a little bit of the things that you might like. So are you ready?
Yes.
All right, well, let's go. All right, so do you prefer art museums or history museums?
Art.
Train or airplanes?
Airplane.
Owe money or owe a favor?
What is it?
Owe money or owe a favor?
Oh, a favor.
Be embarrassed or be afraid?
That's a tough one.
I know. You got
Probably embarrassed.
Be embarrassed. Okay. And then the final one is city or countryside?
Country.
Countryside. All right, awesome. So I hope you guys get a chance to see that Ashley, number one, loves being in the countryside. That sounds like you love, being in spaces that is peaceful, relaxed, so that you can go out there and do the things that you do best, right? So let's get into the conversation. We're going to be talking about speaking. We're also going to be talking about how you can speak from the stage and allow that to make you have a profitable event. So Ashley, before we jump into the conversation, can you tell us a bit more about yourself and the services that you provide to your clients?
Yeah, so we actually help our clients to book more stages, license their brilliance, and sell more services using the most powerful sales tool on the planet, which is speaking.
I love that, because I think that a lot of times, especially as business owners, sometimes if your goal is not to necessarily be a speaker, you might not consider yourself a speaker. And I know that that was the case for myself, where I didn't necessarily consider myself a speaker, but essentially you have to shift the frame of mind, because you have to sell yourself, right? So why is it important for consultants to consider themselves speakers?
Well, you don't even have to consider yourself a speaker. Most of my clients consider themselves experts. So they don't consider themselves speakers, but they do have an expertise. What I do believe is that we should know how to communicate what we do and the value we provide effectively, so that we can help the people we're supposed to help make great buying decisions.
And how do you get to that place of really communicating the value? Because it's one thing to have the expertise, it's a whole other thing to communicate that value, right? So how do you really tap into and hone in on your value articulation?
Yeah, so I don't it first you need to know what your value is. You need to do market research to figure out what your clients desire, what keeps them up at night, and then you need to get really good at copywriting and also communicating effectively so that they understand your value proposition. And really it comes from practice, it comes from understanding marketing messaging, it comes from really hearing what your clients want and then regurgitating that back to them in a way that is persuasive. A lot of this I learned, I think the first time I started selling from the stage was when I was a federal trial lawyer. So that gave
Mm.
me a lot of skill set in terms of looking at people who did not want to be there, even though they were paid. People do everything to get out of jury duty, and we still had to convince them to vote for our side, regardless of who we were representing.
Yeah, one of the things that I really enjoy following you on social media or seeing other interviews that you've done is that you really use storytelling to teach, right? So, just now you talked about what you used to do as a trial lawyer, and in other instances, you talked about just leaving your corporate job. So, can you talk about how we can weave our story and our message in to really connect with our audience or what it is that we're trying to sell or market?
Yeah. So there's a lot of different ways to tell stories. I think the first thing that you need to do is map out all of your connection points, all the ways that you can connect to your audience. And then
Hmm.
from there, you build stories around each and every connection point. So, like, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a lawyer. All of those are titles that other people in my audience also share. So, I build my stories around the various connection points that I could have to them. And then I think about the value that they need and also any objections that they have and how I can overcome them by utilizing story.
I love that. So you jumped into entrepreneurship. I believe you had a legal firm at the time, and then you transitioned into your speaking and coaching business. So can you talk about that transition from law firm and from law firm, why you decided to make that transition, and then when you started your first event or felt like you needed to start that first event?
Yeah. So I've always hosted events. When we had our law firm, we would host webinars, which are like virtual events.
Mm-hmm.
And that helped us to really connect with our audience. Then, when people started asking me how I was getting paid to speak, I started hosting in person events at WeWorks. And that really helped me to really see my client, touch them, build relationships with them quickly. And it was such a good time that people asked me to do it again. So it was really, we started Speak Your Way to Cash in response to what people wanted me to do.
Okay, so you listen to the marketplace essentially,
Mhm,
and what people were asking you to do is reflected in what people value within you and the thing that you're good at, right? So it's
mhm.
figuring that piece of it out. So you were already hosting events with the law firm, and then you transitioned to hosting events. Was that event for Speak Your Way to Cash? Did you start hosting workshops? How did that get started?
So we were hosting virtual and in-person events with the law firm. When
Mm-hmm.
people started asking me how to get paid to speak, I hosted my first in-person event for Speak Your Way to Cash.
Okay, and what was that event? Was it a workshop? And how many people did you have at your first workshop?
It was Speak Your Way to Cash Live, and we had 10 people present.
Okay, so from those 10 people, I know that Speak Your Way to Cash Live or the event that you have right now is much larger than that. So can you talk about the transition or the growth of the event over time?
Yeah, so our first event had 10 people. Our most recent event had 250 people present.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love it.
Mhm.
I love it. Because I think a lot of times people might get discouraged by the amount of attendees that they have present and they might not even continue. So, what made you keep going?
I didn't have a big anticipation. I literally was like, I'm going to do this event. People are asking me to do the event. It'll be a lot of fun. If anyone shows up, no big deal. I actually did a podcast interview on the Social Proof podcast and talked more about like that first event experience. But I would say I was happy. I was happy with the 10 people. I was happy with the 30 people that came after that. I was happy with I've always been happy with whoever shows up to hear me do something that I love.
Yeah.
Um, in the beginning, it wasn't a very big business move. It was more so, this is what they're asking for. I would enjoy doing that. I'm going to do it. We didn't know that we were supposed to offer them something at the event to really keep helping them. I listened to the market and provided what the market needed. And then I got
Mhm.
better at sales and marketing over the way.
So at what point did you realize I need to start offering something at the event? Because a lot of people, they host workshops to teach their expertise or seminars and things like that, but they're not necessarily offering anything else beyond what is provided at that in-person space or that workshop, right? So at what point did you realize that you needed to start transitioning? How did you go about really crafting that and thinking about what to offer them? Because some people might not know exactly what to offer beyond what they teach in the workshops.
Yeah, so we have a Speaker Ready Cash mastermind. One of the things that I talk to them about a lot is doing market research. When people are asking for something and they want another offer, my first step, if I'm not 100% sure what the market needs, for me specifically, is I'll host a market research call. I'll gather all that information and data, and then I'll craft an offer based on what people are actually asking for and what they are willing to pay for. So I think around our third event, we started offering additional services so that the people could kind of work with us closer. And that was probably the first event where we had like a 5-figure launch.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. So what I hear you saying is make sure that you're conducting that market research. That market research is super important for you to really transition from just having a workshop or having an event where you're sharing your expertise to offering something on the back end that can not only support your attendees, but also as a way for you to grow your business then, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I
Okay.
think we like dedicate a whole chapter to this in the Speaker Ready Cash book because it's a step that people like to skip, the market
Mhm.
research.
You mentioned that you had a 5-figure launch, right? For that third event that you did. Can you talk about the profitability or revenues that you were able to generate as a result of you now plugging in this back end offer?
Yeah, so the event, our early event, we may have made 5 figures. I think we did an event after that and made 6 figures. Our most recent event was a 7-figure launch. I think more important than the money is that if you get better at serving your people and getting them results, then they are comfortable paying you. That is the most important piece because even before our last event, Speaker Ready Cash Live, when you come to one of our events, the event starts the moment you buy your ticket. It doesn't start the moment
Mm,
you step in the room. So we give you typically a portal for you to get information depending on the ticket level you buy at. You're able to get results before you ever step foot in the event. And at last year's Speaker Ready Cash Live event, it was a really good event for our company, but our attendees made over 800,000 or over $700,000 before ever stepping foot in the event from the time they bought their ticket to the time they attended the event. Not even implementing everything they learned at the event, implementing everything we gave them and they learned before the event. So we're a really results oriented company. We're a data driven company. We like our people to win. We push
yes,
them
I
to
love
win.
it.
And so we actually revealed that number on stage at the event. So it made it a lot. It's all about proof. Selling from the stage
Mhm,
right now when you're an expert is about proof. It's about evidence. It's about what you can show people you can do for others so that they
mhm.
can see themselves in you doing it for them. And especially right now where people are a little more savvy and skeptical,
Yeah,
you really
exactly.
do need to provide some proof, some evidence of who you are, what you've done, and proof that you've been able to get a result for yourself. And then also proof that you've been able to help other people with the result. So our book is really great. It's really exceptional. Several 5-star reviews on Amazon, but the book serves as the first line of proof that I actually know what I'm talking about. So people read the book and then they read the book and they come to the event. The event serves as even more proof. And they don't just hear from me, but they hear from our clients. And then they get in our programs and they realize, oh, it wasn't just a great sales pitch. The program actually matches the sales
Mhm,
pitch because a lot of
mhm.
times people sell stuff and it doesn't really match the vigor with which they sell is great. And then you get in the back end and you're like, what is this? So we want to make sure
Exactly.
that we provide exceptional service. Our coaches are brilliant. They write for Forbes and Entrepreneur. Like every coach in our program, the standard is you can't coach in our program if I wouldn't hire you to coach me. So if I wouldn't give
Mm.
you money, then I'm not going to put you before my clients.
It's like quality
And that's
control.
yeah, that's like a standard that has helped because oftentimes I've actually joined programs and it's like I love the main person, but then when I talk to other people, I don't necessarily feel they have the depth of knowledge that the lead coach has. And so
Mhm.
for us, I kind of wanted to make sure that anyone we put before our audience, I would pay. And I'm picky. So that actually helps to ensure that quality control that you talk about.
Exactly.
But yeah, the event has done really well. We've built it over several years. We've been able to get our clients incredible results. We've had clients who've come to the first event, who've also come to every single event we have. We have clients who were in our first ever $30 a month coaching program, be in our $35 to $50,000, $50,000+ coaching program. So it just shows people like, man, if people have been around since the beginning, maybe there's something here. And one thing I'm committed to is expertise. So that
Mm-hmm.
means I have dedicated my life to getting better at my skill set. It's not a destination. It is truly a lifelong commitment for me. And that same commitment has to be present in my team members.
I love that you talked about, providing the value before, right? So once they register, then they actually get an opportunity to get into that portal, start learning right away before they even step into the room, right? I think that that is such a beautiful way for them to enter the space already feeling prepared and ready and having the mindset to learn even more. And the fact that people are able to make money before the event even happens, I think is even more powerful, right? So for the listeners here, that's something that you could think about as you're producing or planning your signature event. Offer something beforehand. And I've seen formats where like 3 or 4 different workshops that are offered only to people who have already registered for the event. So that's also like an added value that people can add in there. So you mentioned about speaking from the stage and really just allowing your audience to see what is possible for them. How do you frame education plus marketing plus motivation? So what is the balance between that when you're selling from the stage or marketing your business?
It's a skill. So, like any skill, I think the first thing to say is like, it's a skill that can be developed. It's also a skill that
Mhm.
can be taught and trained on. It's one that our clients work with us for a while to get better at, and you have to practice. I think that what's important is to give your clients the information they need to make an informed decision. So, we don't sell to people without resources. That is my rule. So, I don't do anything from stage to make people feel like, oh, go and refinance your house, go and borrow it from your mama. Like, I don't like, I don't. So the first thing is
Yeah,
like,
it
you
should be
have to be
ethical,
clear.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be, I mean, and honestly, I don't even think it's unethical to do. I just personally only want to work with a certain type of person.
Hmm.
And that person is one that is going to make an informed decision to invest.
Correct. Yeah.
That's who I like to work with. I don't think, what other people do is what other people do. Everyone has a different line. One thing my mom told me is like, everyone's ethical line is different, but if you
Hmm.
feel convicted about something, then that's where your line is. So stick to
Oh,
your
that's good.
line.
Yeah, I agree.
So my line is like, one, I want to work with people who have resources. Two,
Hmm.
I want to work with people who have expertise. I do not say like, oh, anyone can do it. You'll do it in 5 days. No, you cannot. Like, maybe
It's not
anyone can.
microwavable, right?
Yeah, well, there's like a lot of other coaches that will work with
Yeah.
anyone and that will work with, if you don't know anything, it doesn't matter. Like that is their lane. That is not my lane. So I think the first step is getting clear on who you will work with and who you will not work with. I think your
Hmm.
marketing message, if your marketing message is not doing two things, then it's not the right message. It should attract the right people and it should repel the wrong one. When
I
people
love
listen to
that.
my material, there's some people who are like, oh my God, I love her. I have to work with her. There's other people who are like, oh my God, I hate her. I cannot work with her. And that is exactly what I want. Like, I don't want
You're
everyone
like,
to be
back
like,
up.
I can work with her because you can't. And there's
Yeah.
someone right now, that wants to work with us. They just can't. It's just not a good fit on our end. We can
Yeah.
realize red flags off the gate. So once you
Mm.
know who you will work with and who you will not, then you craft your marketing message. What do the people that I want to work with need to know in order to make a buying decision? And what do I need to provide in order for them to know I have the depth of knowledge to get them over the line? The people that we work with, they're experts, they're educated, they're picky, they're typically bougie, they're normally Black women.
Mhm.
And that's who we love to work with. They have expertise, they have all of the accolades, and to most of their friends and family, they look as successful as anyone, and no one even understands why they're consistently investing in themselves because they already got all these degrees. But to
Right.
them, they don't have the life that they want yet. There's
Yeah.
some level of fear that resides in their heart that is telling them, like, okay, you're already a lawyer. Why do you need to do something else? You're already an accountant. Why do you want to jump out into entrepreneurship? Like, there is this little still voice that says, like, you've done enough. But there's another voice that they have that's even more strong that's telling them, you can do more. You can change the world. You can have more joy in your life. You can have more peace in your life. You can have more money in your life. And that is the voice that they are going to be brave enough to listen to when I'm on stage, because I'm going to speak about the voice that's telling them not to do it. And I'm going to speak directly to the voice that's telling them to do it. And I think what happens when people are selling from the stage and it's not converting is they are only thinking about themselves, and they're only thinking about their own revenue and their own money, and they're scared and they're rushing their pitch because all they're thinking about is I got to make X amount of dollars, and if I don't make this money, it's not going to work. And when you do that, you can't serve your people, because no one is looking for a scary leader. If you don't know where you're going, and there's one person who's like, you're going to go left, and there's another person who's like, maybe you'll go left, maybe you'll go right, I don't know which way you'll go, maybe it'll work out, maybe it won't. Who are you going to listen to? You're going to listen to the person who's like, you're going to go left. It may not work, but you at least trust they'll figure it out along the way. And so I don't ever portray myself to be perfect, but I do portray myself to be sure. And that is what people are looking for in a leader. So when you're selling from the stage, first off, the biggest mistakes I see: 1, people don't practice their pitch. 2, they rush their pitch. 3, they don't have fun while they pitch. They're terrified. And fear does not attract money, nor does it attract success.
Fear does not attract money. I love that. Yeah.
It doesn't. It's just, it doesn't. It's not attractive to it. It is what it is, and it's like, so if you practice and if you realize, who you're there to serve, because my job on stage is to attract the people that are ready to do the work and that are ready to be committed to their vision and that want to be pushed to their vision. And they know, like, I'm a hard worker, I'm a visionary, like, I'm going to push you to results. Like, a lot of times it's very easy, especially I work with a lot of women, primarily women, but we do have some men in our community. Shout out to our men's ministry. But we work with a lot of women. And so the thing that I see a lot is, like, we get caught up in the pretty wins. Like, oh, I made this great graphic, it's so pretty. Like, oh, I have a website, it's so pretty. And I'm like, is it profitable? How often are you looking at your profit and loss? How many people did you sell to today? How many rejections did you get today? How many, like, that is the stuff that has built our business. It wasn't the pretty stuff. Our first website was ugly. We didn't have funnels. We didn't have a whole lot of people. I DM'd people to get them to come to my events directly. I got told no a lot. I got rejected a lot, but none of that defined me. So I can get rejected and be totally fine and still be 100% confident. So I like pushing my clients to think through, okay, the pretty wins are cool. We need a website, but what we need more is sales. Like, the heartbeat of your business is revenue. And if you're not watching your heartbeat, then what exactly are you doing? Like, this is unless you have a not for profit, but even those, they have to, you have to make money. Exactly. So I really think that the goal is to figure out what it is that you're supposed to do. Get up there, tell them what they need to hear, in order to make the best decision for them, not for you. And if you stay integral to that, and then the skill of it all is like how you present it, what you say, what you put in your pitch, that stuff that you need to get a coach and work on it with.
Yeah, what you said around just being not only confident in yourself, but practicing, right? It takes practice. It's a skill that you have to actually go through and cultivate. And that's one of the things that I love about what you talk about in the marketplace is around sales. I think a lot of times we get so caught up, like you said, in the vanity of it all, right? The nice website, the nice branding, the look, all of those things. But what exactly is happening in the back end of your business that is really foundational to you building a sustainable business? And that's a part of it, right? It's how you build that pipeline. You're not going to be in business if you don't have sales, right? And I think a lot of times, especially with women, we are so afraid of selling or sounding salesy.
It's not even like, to me, it's not even we're afraid of selling. It's that we have been taught since birth not to inconvenience others.
Oh, that's
and
good.
So the issue with a sale is that, well, am I being pushy? Am I being rude? Am I being this? You're not afraid of the sale. You're afraid of them being inconvenienced. You're afraid of putting yourself in a position that may inconvenience someone else. But if you see it as actually life and death for another person, then you'll do it, right? Because if your services help their business grow, help them grow as a person, whenever people get good information and they implement it, they're buying more life. So I don't feel like I'm inconveniencing anyone. And if anyone doesn't accept my help, that's on them. It'll hurt them more than it'll hurt me. Honestly, I have to go out and talk about my services, talk about what I offer, get effective at selling and marketing, continue to get better at communicating my message, because I know that what we offer and what we do at Speak Your Way to Cash is we add more life to our clients. We
That's
don't just
good.
add more money to
More
them.
money,
Like,
exactly,
no one even
exactly.
cares about
Yeah,
money if it doesn't make your life better. If I
yeah,
could do all this without millions of dollars, I would do it. Like, I don't care about the little paper dollar. What I
yeah.
care about is, like, I can take my kids on a vacation. I care about spending the weekend with my husband wherever we want to spend it in the world. Like, I want
Mhm.
more life. Money is just
Yeah.
a vehicle for me getting more life. And if my services help my clients get more life, how could I ever feel bad about offering that?
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. Money offers you more life, right? Yeah. And really it is a tool for you to be able to live the life that you desire, right?
Yeah.
So I love that you shared it in that way and like shifted the perspective around it, because I notice a lot of times, especially when women are ready to ask for the sale, their voice gets shaky or they don't necessarily pull the trigger. So I think that that's a transition that we have to make. You are providing value to someone, you are providing an opportunity for them to change their lives. And so you need to be shouting it from the mountaintops and letting them know, like, hey, I'm over here, I could help you, so that they can go on to live the life that they want to live, and that we can all be at peace and feel freedom and joy and love in our lives, right? And use money as a tool to be able to get there. So one of the other things that I know that you talk about, or a way that you allow women to make money but to really have that freedom and flexibility in their lives, is to start thinking about licensing, right? With regards to their content or trademarking some of the, the materials and information that they have out there. Can you talk a bit more about why licensing is important, or copywriting or trademarking is important, especially for someone who's a speaker or content creator or a consultant?
So that's a really in-depth topic. Each of those
Mhm.
things is different.
Can you explain each one of them, just really
Briefly,
briefly? Right,
very briefly.
exactly. Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
if you think about a vacuum cleaner, the name of that vacuum cleaner would get a trademark. The manual
Mhm.
it came with could get a copyright, and the internal operating system, if it's an invention, could possibly get a patent. So
Okay.
your trademark is for your names, your copyright is for your content. When you own something, you can then rent it out or sell it to other people. We have over 30 different trademarks that we filed. Several of them are registered. Speak Your Way to Cash is a registered trademark. We just got Act Your Way to Cash. Think Your Way to Cash is pending.
Mm.
Pitch Your Way to Cash is pending. And so we have a lot of different trademarks. But licensing is when you allow someone else to basically rent your IP. I
Mhm.
think that it's important because after you own something, especially if it's intellectual property, meaning just something that came out of your mind that then you produced as a physical asset,
Mhm.
that thing only will make you money if you control who has access to it and how much access they have. It can
Mm.
make you infinitely more money. So, like for our events, when you buy a ticket, you get a license to watch it live. You do not get replay rights. You don't have a license
Right.
to watch it forever. You don't get
Right.
a license to the recordings unless you buy it. And most of the time, we don't even sell it at that point.
Mhm.
Because it's more valuable to us if we leverage it in different ways. So once
That
you
makes sense.
understand licensing, you can then leverage it in different ways. And I think part 6 of our book is all about legalities for that very reason. Most people, they skip over this part because it seems confusing, but everyone listening to this can understand the legalities of their business. Like literally, even if you're not a lawyer, it doesn't matter. You can and should understand basic legalities of your business, basic contracts, basic trademarks. Those things are important because if you know what you own, then you know what you can do with that asset.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Like you said, a lot of times it's not sexy, right? The finances part or the back end part and the foundational part, those things aren't sexy. The legal part isn't sexy either, especially when you don't really understand. You're like, man, do I even want to navigate this process to figure this out? But it's so important. It's like you're leaving money on the table essentially with your intellectual property, right? So it's something that we need to start paying attention to, myself included. So when I hear you talk about that, I'm learning about a lot of these artists and selling their masters and their intellectual property and all these things. So I think also for people, that might be something that we could look to in order to understand the importance of owning our intellectual property and our content, right?
Yeah, possibly.
So then we could talk about the corporate side of things. I know that you support women in your community with being able to land corporate contracts, right? So what are some things for entrepreneurs who want to be able to transition into the corporate space? Because I know a lot of our audience, like they host their events because they want to be a speaker. They want to be a paid speaker. And so they might not be invited to platforms, or they might not have gotten to speak in an event that they pitched at. So they're like, all right, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and create my own platform and build my brand as a speaker that way. But with long-term goal being, I want to be able to be a paid speaker at colleges or conferences or corporations, right? So can you talk about how women can make that transition from building your own platform to entering into the collegiate space or the corporate space?
So first you need your offer. What are you going to offer? And there's like, we give our mastermind probably like 80 plus things that they can offer. To start though, it could be like a workshop. It could be a series of workshops, but you need to have your offer. You need to do market research before that. I would highly recommend the Speak Your Way to Cash book because this stuff is very detail oriented. But figure out your offer, then you figure out your target, and then you figure out your pitch plan. Honestly, speaking is 80% sales in the beginning. Before you get momentum where people are inviting you to speak on their platforms, they are reaching out to you, and you are getting inbound leads, which will happen if you pitch enough,
Right.
then you need to develop your own pitch plan. Like, who am I going to pitch? How many pitches am I going to send out a day? And let me just be clear, because there are some people who are like, Ashley, I pitched 3 people and they said no. You're going to
You're like, nah, you got to pad the pavement.
Yeah, you can either pitch in mass, which is how we started our speaking business. We pitched thousands of people a month, like thousands. We were told no.
And when you say
pitch
thousands, are you sending out emails? Are you calling them?
We're sending out emails. We're calling. We're sending LinkedIn messages. We're doing everything. We're doing work. Everyone hear that? Work. Okay, that's what we do. We do work. Like, people don't like work. Work is not popular. Work is not in vogue in 2023, but we did work to start our business. That is why it is working now.
Yeah.
Work gets you working, right? And so we did work. And then after that, so that's one way to do it. Like pitching in mass, getting those leads. You can buy them. You can have someone research them. You can go on Fiverr and have someone research them. There's so many ways to get leads. But the other way to do it, if you're like, I'm not going to do that, that's too much, I don't want to do that, go on your phone, see who you know, make sure every single person knows what you do, and then ask them to connect you with someone who can actually hire you at a college or at a corporation. Otherwise, the third way to do it, if you can't go the referral route, maybe you're like, I don't have a good Rolodex, but I find that most people that we work with have an amazing Rolodex. They just don't want to ask anyone for anything because, again, they don't want to inconvenience anyone. But if you want to be an entrepreneur and if you want to be someone that changes the world, you have to be strong enough to be disliked. That is a fact. So get over. Oh, my friend just recommended a book called Rejection Proof. You have to get over, shout out to Audrey Richmond. You have to get over that feeling of like, oh my God, but what if they say no? They're going to say no. What if they don't like you? They're going to not like you. Are you so committed to your vision of a better world that you will sustain the dislike?
Yeah.
You're gonna inconvenience people. There's literally no one, not a single world changer, not a single movement maker that did not inconvenience people. Jesus was like the nicest guy ever, and half of the world doesn't like him. So at that point, what do we think we're about to do? To not be disliked.
You got to get over it. You got to get over it.
You have to get over it. And I think that there's a couple different ways to get over it. And this, I'm telling you, it doesn't sound like it does, but this directly relates to why you may not be selling as much as you want. You need to get in therapy. You need to figure out why it is that you are so committed. You're more committed to people liking you than you are to your vision of the world.
That's good.
Like, figure that out. Like, who rejected you? Who was mean to you? Forgive them, forgive yourself, and move on. Get in therapy.
Use it to empower yourself. Yeah.
Use it to empower yourself. Like, for every painful experience in my life, I am going to find the purpose in it and take it with me and leave the pain. So you have to figure that out. The last way that you can do it, so you have mass pitching, which is what we did. You have referrals, which is what we eventually did, but did not do in the beginning. And the last way to do it is super targeted pitching to organizations. So you find your list of 100, you get very targeted and granular about who they are, what they want, and then you develop a long game way to pitch them. So, pitching is a skill. Again, it's something that you can definitely learn. We have books and resources in the Speak Your Way to Cash group. We just finished the Pitch Your Way to Cash challenge. But
I was a part of that challenge.
So like we talk about the nuances of pitching in there. That's a really great way to do it. And we have a free ticket. So it's really open to anyone. But for everyone listening, anything you want to get good at, First off, stop looking for like the get rich quick scheme. That's never going to happen.
Facts.
Secondly, after you decide you want to learn something, and sales is something that every single person listening to this should learn, whether you're an employee or an entrepreneur, get like obsessive about it. There are some qualities of successful people. They are obsessive about learning the thing that will help unlock new levels in their business, in
Exactly.
their life, and with their mission. And what I find sometimes is that people just do not work hard enough. I know that's not popular to say, but it's just a fact. Like in my life, any area where I'm not progressing in, I'm just not working hard enough. Like I
Yeah,
probably could be down 20 pounds, but I'm not going to the gym enough, you know? And
exactly.
so on the business side, I got that. Like I am working in that area. I'm seeing fruit in that area, but I know that to see fruit in other areas of my life, I need to get more committed to that area than I am to my excuses. So for me, it may be fitness. Like I'm more committed to like, oh, but you know, I'm tired. I got the baby. The baby's a toddler. Like I can always come up with excuses
It's
to
raining
not work
outside.
out.
Listen,
Yeah, it's
me too.
raining. Oh, Uber Eats says 50 minutes for the healthy restaurant. The
Right.
chicken joint is 10 minutes. Like there's all like life will always give you like doors
Exactly.
off the path
Exactly.
to doing the right thing.
Hmm.
But if you really want change in any area of your life, there's typically an education deficit that you need to fill. And then there's an implementation deficit that you have to fill in order to see the result in your life.
That's so powerful. And I remember I was at a point in my business where I felt like I had just hit a plateau. And I was like, oh, I feel overwhelmed. I feel at capacity. I feel like I want to grow, but I'm not sure how to grow. A friend of mine recommended that I speak with someone, and I was kind of telling her what I was going through, the challenges I was going through. And she was like, you need to get more education. You need to learn more. She was just advising and kind of mentoring me. And she recommended Profit First and Clockwork. She's like, read these two books, right? And I started reading the books, but as I'm reading the books, I realized I need to start paying for coaching. I need to get the help that I need to get to the next level, because I've gotten to a place where I can't do it on my own anymore. I know what I know, and there's things that I don't know that I don't know. Right. And so I need to get the help that I need in order for me to get to that next level. Yeah. So education and implementation, because I think at one point, like I was consuming so much information, right? There was just so many things. I was learning so many things on different topics, but I wasn't necessarily implementing. So I wasn't seeing the results in my business or in my life. So I think that is also super key. Yeah. So
And I
our
will
final
say
question.
this,
Go ahead.
you all, I don't want anyone to listen like, oh my God. Because what happens is, depending on how your mindset is set up, you'll hear that and you'll be like, oh, I'm already so tired. I'm not doing anything. They're saying I'm not doing anything. You are working hard, but you may not be working as smart as you need to work. There may be a
Exactly.
more efficient way. It may be that you just do need to put in more work. I remember I've never in my life since being a lawyer ever felt that I was not putting in work.
Mm-hmm.
However, the level of work I need to put in to get to our next goal,
Mm-hmm.
running an 8-figure company, that level of work is very different. It
Different.
looks different. It takes a different level of energy. It's not like me just sitting out more pitches. It's me
Mm-hmm.
inspiring more of my leaders to pick up that like flag and fly it, right? And so
Yeah, because you can't do it
different
on your
level of
own
work.
anymore.
You cannot do it on your own. And
Mhm.
so we've always had it. We also always had a team. So anyone out there who's like, it's solopreneur life, and you're like, I'm a solopreneur, that's
You're
not
like, I ain't
good.
about that life.
Yeah, that never made sense to me. I never
Yeah, yeah.
saw any CEO that I respected who didn't have someone, at least a number two, at least
Yeah.
someone to help them out. So I hired an administrator before I made my first $1,000.
Oh, that's good.
So I
That's
don't
good.
I don't think you need to wait. I think the one thing that I waited on way too long is ads. I should have been running ads way earlier.
Mhm.
Um, that was a huge game changer in our business last year as well. But sometimes it really is more work. But I had to learn ads myself, because if it's going to become a big part of our sales engine, and my job as the chief revenue officer is to make sales. If ads are going to help me make sales, I need to learn those ads. Even if I outsource it later, I need to be the one who can go in there and say, this is costing me $20,000. I'm going
Exactly.
to fix it. And there's some people who are like, well, I don't want to do that. I can just outsource it. I outsource a lot, but I learn enough to be dangerous
I
before
was
I
just gonna say
outsource
that.
important
Mhm.
parts of my business.
Yeah, yeah. And that's something that you don't want to not understand what's going on, because you could get told all sorts of things, and if you don't understand the data and the information and the numbers, then you could get sold a bag of
Yep.
Yes, basically. You know what I mean? So you want to ensure that you at least like understand things at a basic level. I don't need to be the expert in that space, but I need to be able to understand those things. A final question before we close out, Ashley. So I know that you host the online challenge, Pitch Your Way to Cash. You host the live conference as well. How important is events within your marketing mix and the goals that you have for your company?
They're our main marketing engine. So
Okay.
whereas ads are one of our main sales engines outside of my awesome husband who does our sales, and we have some salespeople that we're hiring actually right now. But outside of, the way that it works now, like ads are an important part of our sales engine. Events
Mm-hmm.
are the main part of our marketing engine. We have 2 events next week. We're doing a
Mm,
lot of events. We always are going to do events because I think it's important for people to see.
yeah.
Um, before they buy, frankly,
Mhm.
especially right now. And I always say, like, we do free events and in-person events, not because we're selling to people who can't afford events, but because we're selling to people who are smart enough to want to know that you are the right
Yeah,
person
they're discerning
before they
buyers.
buy. Yeah,
Right,
so we do
exactly.
challenges, we do summits, we've always done webinars, and then we do live events, which are really great because it is a two-way interviewing street. So when we do a live event, it allows our clients to interview us and see, like, do I want to join the Speak Get Ready Cash
Mhm.
mastermind and business family, which is super dope. Like 60 plus incredible diverse experts are in that community already, sharing, helping each other. There's always posts and great value in there. But we also have to interview them and be like, are they the right fit for our community? So we
Right.
call our community cash leads. We
I
go
love
really
it.
hard on like protecting our cash leads. Like we want to make sure that they are protected. Like we don't want
Yeah.
anyone to come in our community that's not a good fit. We have a
Because it
really
affects the
rigorous
culture as
process.
well, right? Like culture
Yep.
is super important in the community. Yeah.
Yep, it's really important. And we want to make sure you can glean as well as add value. So
Mhm.
that is great because through the event process, we have pre-events, we have calls they do with our coaching team, and all of that helps us to see, okay, well, this person is an amazing fit. If we got to make sure they join. This person is a great person, but they may not be ready for our community yet. Let's give them some recommendations for some other things they can do to get
Mhm.
ready. Or
Mhm.
sometimes you just have people who are just bad cultural fits and you're just like you're
Yeah.
not invited to the party. So either way it works. Like sales is always a
I
two-way
love
street.
it. You're so direct. You're like, this is what it is, okay?
Yeah, because it's like, when you're a leader, your job
Mhm.
is to protect your people. So if
Yeah,
someone
absolutely.
comes and they're cursing out our team, or they're like,
Yeah.
we had a woman come to one of our events and she was like, well, you're playing this music, it's so loud and da 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 da. And it was not a person of color.
Ooh.
And I was just like,
Come
okay,
on.
great. She cannot work with our company. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
if
yeah.
you
No, you're
don't
not the
like
one.
our culture, this is a
Mhm.
black run company. If we want to play hip hop, gospel, shout, dance, if we want to do all four, we
All
are
of it.
like
We
to do
gonna do
all
it. We
four.
gonna do it.
We're gonna do all of them, ma'am. Okay. Like you're gonna have to go back
Exactly.
to where you came from. It's just not like this is not for you. We're not gonna change at all.
Yeah,
At
yeah, yeah,
all.
yeah. Yeah.
And so it's important for us to figure out how do we protect our community. The best way that we've been able to do it is through events, because
Mhm.
over time you're going to see how people act, how they engage, how they support one another. We don't have a lot of bad actors in our community. We haven't had anything
Mhm.
crazy happen, but even like the way they support each other, the way they show up for one another, we hire from our community. we
Oh,
we really have been able to, and then we award contracts to people in our community.
love
We've
it.
paid them for services, we've referred them for 5-figure contracts. And so our goal is to keep infusing more resources, more money, more love into our community. But in order to do that, we also need to protect our community from bad actors.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
And
All
events
right,
help.
Ash. Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being here, Ashley. Before we close out, please share one last gem that you'd like to leave with us. It could be something that we haven't discussed today or anything else that you feel like the listeners need to know.
I think one thing I'll leave with your community is every day I can, I do it for every day I can't. There will come a time in your life. It just happens to everyone where like you literally cannot work. You cannot put in the effort. You cannot put in the time. Maybe something happens with your family. Maybe it's health, whatever. So every day you wake up and you have breath in your body and you have the rightness, you're in your right mind, like go all in on those days to store up equity for any day you need to be off. Right. And so that's the way I think about the cadence at which I work. Is every day I can, I'm going to do it for those days that I can't.
Ooh, I love that. I love that. I always think about it as riding the wave. If I'm in that wave, I just keep riding it because I know that there's going to be a day where I am just not feeling it today. Is there anything that you want to leave with the audience? Like, how can they follow you, reach you, find out more about the book that you have?
Yes, you can definitely join the Speak Your Way to Cash Facebook group. You can find us at speakyourwaytocash.com. And we're also on Instagram at Speak Your Way to Cash. So everything's kind of under that. And then I'm not sure when this will come out, but we are hosting a live event in March of 2023 and in November of 2023. So if you want to know about any of our events, you can definitely go to speakyourwaytocash.com.
Awesome. And all of those links will be in the show notes as well. Again, thank you so much, Ashley. This was a powerful conversation. And I love that you're telling us, listen, you need to go pound the pavement, start building your pipeline and selling, right? So that you can build a sustainable business that allows you to have the freedom and flexibility in the life that you dream of. So I so appreciate the work that you do, the mission that you have. I really acknowledge you for everything that you've been doing, especially for Black women. So I just want to know, I just want to let you know you're it. And I'm so excited that we got a chance to have this conversation. So if you guys enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, I hope you caught those gems now. Let's fly.